Hey, it's Declan Ryan from who'sdeclanryan.com, and we've come to chapter 15 of Maxwell Maltz's amazing book Psycho-Cybernetics. And I hope you've actually caught all the other videos that I've done prior to this. If you haven't, go back to chapter 1 and just see my personal take on what I've actually got. About to use personally too many times there. Again, this isn't a review of the book. This is just my own take on it, which everybody's got a different viewpoint of it. But I've got a huge amount out of this, all 15 chapters of it. So here's the last chapter. Now, I was almost expecting Maltz to do a kind of a wrap-up of all the previous chapters. And then, on reflection of the various points that he's raised throughout the book, I thought, well, in so many chapters, he's kind of stitched them, the various different aspects together. There's several themes that run all the way through, and they're not so much respecters of individual chapters, but they're more or less, intertwined with each other, really. And in this final chapter, he touches on a few things, including the elusive search for the elixir of life, which he pretty much pinpoints, why he believes in miracles, and also just a couple of notes to finish off the chapter with, really. But one of the most curious things what I found, and you can probably see this in your own life or see this amongst people that you know, is how different people react to aging. Now, he actually refers to studies amongst people, what happens to people once they retire. And the statistics are, by and large, a lot of people, when they retire, they go into decline, and many don't last after a couple of years once they've retired. And so it's not leaving the job which kills them. Everybody's looking forward to leaving the job and having years ahead of them. It's their lack of goal. It's their lack of anything else to live for. Now, if somebody has lived to get up and go to the job every day, and that job has been, their reason to live, really, you take that away from them, they've got no other interests, and the body starts thinking, well, what's the point in continuing? But if you do have a worthwhile goal, whether that just be being more active in the community, traveling, learning more, eating right, taking exercise, all of these things can just extend your life massively. And that is in fact what he refers to as pretty much this life force. Now, many years of study went into looking for that, and it's as elusive as that. It's basically the thing which causes people to self-repair themselves. He talks about his experience as a surgeon. Why do some patients heal quicker than others, where their metabolism, their physicality is exactly comparable? They might have the same age, they might have the same medical vital signs, but one heals faster than the other. And that's down to the life force. It's down to the frequently these people that will recover faster and heal faster are those that have somewhere to go. They've got a goal to accomplish. They want to get over this injury as quickly as possible. So the body responds and it will heal at that injury quickly. Whereas to the person that is just, I've got another injury, or that kind of thing. Note the slumped shoulders and everything. They just take longer to heal, and that's also part of the elusive life force. Not so elusive, really, because now we know exactly what it is. Now, so he spends quite a bit on that, and but also he mentions quite a bit about how the failure mechanism there, just as this is that's a person with the slumped shoulders and just like will take a while to heal, how that failure mechanism can actually really harm you. Now, out of all the things that you've got there, you've got pretty much the E out of the failure, the emptiness, and that just really pushes it forward to damage you physically. And you can positively see that in other people. Now, there are quite a number of other points I wanted to touch on there. Worry, for example. People that worry a lot, it's constantly been associated with age. If somebody worries an awful lot, you can see it in the various presidents of the White House, or prime ministers of England, or various other high-profile politicians. When they started the job, and even just a year or 2 years into it, they look older, because worry actually ages. Whereas if you actually dispense with that worry, using either just always expecting the best, using psycho-cybernetic techniques, then you actually postpone the aging process. I'm sure likewise you've seen people in your own circle of friends, or people that you know, that do not look their age, because they have this positive outlook. They have this absolute belief that everything's going to turn out for the better. And guess what? It generally does for them as well. And so he actually finishes up with why I believe in miracles, which I just think is a really wonderful way to sort of finish the book. It's a couple of pages, 2 pages before the end. And he recounts the fact that there's so many things that we don't know about, we can't prove. For example, he says he still can't understand how the body heals. How, when somebody has a scar, or somebody has some kind of another issue with their skin, the body knows exactly how to repair it. He doesn't know how that happens, and so that to him is a miracle. And in fact, he refers to Alexis Carrel reporting on the observations of instantaneous healings at Lourdes. Now, religionists can call that a divine healing. He and I share his opinion on this. He thinks that there's only one source that provides the life source, which is God. However, you don't have to be a religionist to sign up to this. I wouldn't call myself a religionist, but to use his words, just the power of belief carries a lot of these people. If they believe it sufficiently enough that just touching the waters at Lourdes will cure them of an affliction, with many, many people that are sufficient for them. And with other people, it can be just sufficiently a belief in God. Now, he actually goes on to the disagreements that can happen between the various different areas of belief, if you like, different ways of doing things, notably between those of faith and those without faith. For example, science and religion. So many people think that these things are diametrically opposed. They associate the science with the Darwin side, and the religion with believing in something that you have no proof of, and yet there's absolutely no reason for these two to conflict. He mentions that this quote for this French surgeon, which I really liked. The surgeon dresses the wound and God heals it. And, we're all talking about the same life source, really. The same source that heals these wounds is the same source that provides everything else, regardless of what you actually label it. Some people label it God, some people label it the universe. So whatever it is, the actual label you use, it's the same source. But he also actually goes on a little bit further, saying within the same similar areas of medicine, even, for example, you find different competing is the wrong word, almost lack of agreement, competition. I'm struggling for a word here. For example, between psychiatrists and psychologists, or between chiropractors and doctors. You find that in so many different sort of professions. Doctors might, there's a perception that doctors look down their noses at the chiropractors, or the chiropractors think that doctors do things in a different way, etc., etc. So instead of actually recognizing that they're working towards the same goal, which is healing the patient, rather than backbiting or just disagreeing specifically because it comes from a specific source. So you have to forgive me if I'm rambling a little bit on that, but hopefully you get the gist. Regardless of the source where the knowledge comes from, if it's valid information, accept it. It doesn't matter. And he draws a really great analogy here between when Peter from the Bible was hungry, and God let down a sheet full of food, but Peter didn't see it as food because it had live animals, and he says, Lord, I've never touched anything which is unclean, and God rebuked him, saying, don't call anything unclean that which I've called clean. So Maltz uses the same sort of analogy, regardless of whether the information comes from what source it comes from. If it's good information, if it helps, if it assists in any way, accept it. And I think that's really, really great advice. And what he finishes on is one of my I remember this from the first time I read this, and it's called The Best Self-Image of All. Now, after all you've been through, after all the 15 chapters that you've been through, if you're still having issues with, self-help issues, self-image issues, I should say, which you really shouldn't be after after going through the book, but if you are, just think, and I guess potentially this doesn't work if you're not a Christian or if you don't strongly believe in God. But if you're still struggling with your self-image, then just think, well, God created you. He thinks you're perfect. So who are you to criticize God by thinking that you're not perfect? And I think that's just a fantastic way to encapsulate it. Whereas he says, you're made in the image of God, and you cannot believe yourself the image of God deeply and sincerely with full conviction and not receive a new source of strength and power. So, I think that's just a fantastic place to finish the book. So I really hope you've got a lot out of these videos. This is slightly longer than any of the other previous videos. I just thought it warranted it, with being video 15 and everything. And, I look forward to talking to you very soon. Who knows, there could be another review of another book coming up. Meantime, make it a great day. Bye-bye.